have you ever felt like you were in a cycle that deep down you knew was toxic, or you were in a relationship that you knew was toxic and you just didn't know how to break that cycle? Well, today I'm sitting with somebody, and you're going to love this, because they literally figured out how to break those cycles. And when they did, their business exploded. They shifted the industries that they were in. They focused on helping people. And I'm lucky to be here with Gretchen Seeck. First off, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This is awesome. So you and I worked together. You and I had to have a conversation that ended up being a shift in your entire life. Yeah. And unbeknownst to me, in a way that really it was impactful. Many years ago, when I put out that I wanted to do a podcast, you had hit me up, and we never got a chance to do it. Recently, you hit me up and were like, we should have a podcast around that conversation.
Yes.
And I was thinking about the audience. I was like, what I've done with my podcast is I've really wanted to help people, give them a step-by-step framework around improving their lives, or, figuring out a hack on how to get more business, or whatever the case is. But I think in today's day and age, breaking toxic cycles is something that people have they struggle with. They have a hard time with it.
Big time.
And you did it. And when you did it, your life changed. So can you take us back to that moment?
Yes, absolutely. So it was not a graceful time in my life. It wasn't like I blinked my eyes and everything was fixed by any stretch. I am a recovering alcoholic. My sobriety date is May 26, 2016. And leading up to that beautiful day was 3 years of absolute chaos, of me not knowing what to do. Mm-hmm. There was even years before that where I could see how unhealthy I was becoming and how my drinking was really escalating. But I didn't have any desire to change, because I'm like, no, this is my life. I'm a fun haver. I'm going to party forever, right? And so then it got to the point where my health was starting to be an issue. I have an amazing husband that was like, Gret, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Work was starting to suffer, all of these different things. So there was a 3-year period where I really tried to get sober, and I couldn't. The cycle that you talk about, it's just this hamster wheel of beliefs, right? I'm a firm believer that my shift changed when I realized that I mattered. I can get sober for everybody else. I could get sober to get the job back and get my husband not to divorce me, and all of my friends to come back around and not be awkward anymore. But it wasn't until I was like, oh my God, I deserve to be happy, that it really started to skyrocket. And I had gone through a period of sobriety when I started working for you. Mm-hmm. And I was pumped up. I think I had 5 months sober. Mm-hmm. And, I got back into the scheme of life again. I stopped doing what worked. I stopped meditating all the time. I stopped prioritizing my self-care. I started prioritizing other things that put me back into the hamster wheel, right? And then my forgetter turns on, and I'm like, I could have a drink. I'm not going to get caught. Steve would have to work, my husband would have to work on a Saturday, so I can dabble on a Saturday, and my brain, it doesn't react like a normal brain. Mm-hmm. If I have one drink, the next day I'm like, oh, I can drink before work. It makes me more fun, all of those cycles. So you start telling yourself these things that when you hear that voice in your head now, yeah, it's crazy talk. It's but back then, the voice in your head was almost like your ride or die, right? It's basically your conscious is telling you and rationalizing that it's okay to do these things. Absolutely. And the crazy part is, so now I know, I have all this information now that I really eat, breathe, sleep. The voice that's telling me, no, it's fine, go do that, is my ego. And the thing that says, oh, Gret, no, what are you doing? It's okay, you don't have to do this stuff. This isn't towards your highest self. And that's intuition. Mm-hmm. And intuition is so much quieter. And intuition is going to tell you stuff that maybe you don't want to hear, because it takes you down a different path that is unknown and uncertain. And uncertain is terrifying for people, because you have to take a leap of faith. Mm-hmm. Or you don't know. There's no certainty when you take your intuitive route. And ego, even though it is harder and dysfunctional, it's comfortable. You know what to expect when it comes out of it. So I relapsed while I was working for you. And I don't remember how many back and forths into treatment that I actually went, but ultimately there was a relapse. You called me into your office and you looked at me and you said, Gret, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And I looked at you and I'm like, I'm not okay. I'm not. And I think I was even forthcoming with the group that I worked with, that I was in recovery and this is fresh. And I was feeling so strong and so good in those first 5 months. And, you know, if you stop doing what works, shit stops working, right? It goes away. You don't just get it through osmosis and it just sticks. Like, you have to keep repeating the behaviors that make you healthy. And I remember, this is why this podcast is so dear to me right now. And every single year on my sobriety date, I always text message you. And I just like, the idea that somebody in that position, your position, would look at me and take the time to be like, are you okay? It was so big and so life redirecting, and just gave me permission to fall apart and surrender. And if you want to add, like, I know self-love is one thing that I said was a shift changer, but the biggest shift changer was surrender. Like, I had to throw up my freaking white flag and be like, this no longer works for me. I think I had worked for another mortgage company before, and I was at the peak of my addiction there, drinking all day, every day, reeking like booze. There was only one person the whole time that I worked there that was like, Gretchen, you reek. And it was a coworker. And he's like, and he was an old retired police officer. And he's like, how do you do this? And I'm like, oh, I just had one drink last night. It was like a total delusion, but I performed there. I did well. I wrote loans. And so nobody cared. That's so heartbreaking to me as like a sensitive human being. I didn't think I was that sensitive back in the day, but turns out I'm very sensitive.
But do you know how I knew?
How?
Have we ever talked about this?
I don't know.
The most unlikely person shot me a note like, hey, you need to check on Gretchen. Something's not right. And I think they knew what it was, but they weren't going to rat you out. And so then when I came out, everybody was like, we need to help her. Oh, wow. So the community essentially was all watching after you and was kind of noticing that the behavior had shifted. So they were like coming to your help, like, and they knew that I would have your back, right? Yeah. They knew that, like, but let me take you back a little bit, because I've always had guilt about this. We were, I want to say maybe the day before or like 2 days before, we had an outing to go to like a baseball game, like a spring training game. And so we had a tent outside and we were drinking. You weren't drinking. We had hot dogs, and then we were all going to go to the game. I don't think you went to the game, but you hung out with us out in the front. Okay. And I remember I offered you a drink. I said, hey, do you want to have a beer? And you said, oh no, I don't drink. And I left you alone at that mark. And then the next couple of days is when this went down. Okay. And I always felt guilty, like that somehow I triggered it, you know, like no. I always felt bad about that.
Oh,
but
I
like,
love you.
But everybody really, really did have your back on that. So when you say like, it was just me, it really wasn't just me. Somebody let me know. You did surrender, by the way. And I remember you just kind of like were like, I don't know what to do here, right? And so I was like, can we call Steve? And Steve was an absolute gentleman about it and came in and, you know, was a hero of the day. But so how did that really shift, like, from your perspective? I mean, when you have to make that decision, you had done this before, apparently, right?
Oh, yeah.
You had been through a few treatments. Because I remember Steve saying, we're going to have to put her back or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
So tell me about that. Like, what was that like?
So this is hysterical to me. I tell this story quite a bit. So remember, 3 years of trying to get sober and not being able to figure it out. This last relapse comes around, and I'm like, oh, I can't drink anymore. Like, that was one of my aha movements. Yeah. But my extreme brain can't be satisfied with that idea. Like, being told I can't do something, being controlled in any way sends me, right? And then there's underbelly to all of that I've been able to work through. But it was this idea like, oh my God, I can't drink anymore. So I had this like little come to Jesus, like huffy puffy conversation with myself that I'm like, fine. If I can't drink ever again, I'm fine with never drinking again. If I'm a good mom, like that's all I care about. I never have fun anymore. If my life sucks, that's fine if I can show up for Sawyer. And that was another level of surrender that allowed me to like pause, cool my jets, and start taking in information on what I needed. Also do the healing work.
Like, so you basically had to have a negotiation with yourself.
Right.
Like, and that's actually a really good, framework for somebody who's listening, who's struggling through this, that, you have to find that one thing that is more important than the drinking, or giving up your freedom to be the adult, to make adult decisions. I have a really good friend of mine who had an episode at a work event, and he called me, or he texted me, and he said, I can't believe it. I can't live my life this way. I just got, drunk at work at an event, and they had to walk me to my room, and, blah, 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 right? And he was like, I just can't be doing this. And I was like, stop talking about the past. You cannot change that. But now get through the day, and we'll talk about the future. And when we got to the hangover and everything, I just said, hey man, you and me, we're not social drinkers. Like that hand was not dealt to us. Like we were.
How is it even fun to think about having one glass of wine? Like that doesn't resonate in my brain.
It's not fun. So because it's not, it's always a snowball effect. Yeah. And somebody was like, but did you really have a problem? Like, and I said, look, I mean, because I'm sober as well. I think I'm 2.5 years into it.
Nice.
And I will tell you that, the negotiation piece, I don't know if to me, it's more like I said I'm not going to drink, and I went on social media and said I wasn't drinking.
Yep.
And if I drank, I would lose that one thing that people said, like, that guy is a stand-up guy, but now I saw him out drinking, so he's full of crap, right? Yep. I just didn't want to be that person. So to me, my reputation is the negotiation piece that I had to make with myself. And then comes the waterfall effect of all the other things that I'm better at. The brain space that it takes up.
Yeah. Energy.
Like, so tell me about that a little bit. So you got the negotiation piece, right? And I didn't do treatment. You did treatment.
Oh, I had to.
So how long did you go to treatment?
First 3 years, like in the beginning. I was at the other mortgage company. I did my first like detox, and because I thought in my brain it was just I just needed to feel better physically, and then I could pick and choose when I wanted to drink. And this beautiful woman, she told me, she's like, this is a disease of the body, mind, and the spirit. You've got the body, but now the hard work starts. This is the mind spirit piece. This is the healing piece. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. Yeah. I'll be fine. So relapse, detox. I did a couple of day programs, went to the hospital a couple times, and then ended up finally surrendering again, going to an inpatient treatment facility I told Steve, I'm like, I'll go 1 week. And he's like, I don't care what, you just get in. And then I did another week, and then I did another week. Turns out that first chunk of time was like 90 days of treatment.
And you're a mom at this time.
Yes. Talk about mind effery happening there.
Well, let's talk about that, because somebody who's listening could be a mom. And hopefully, right, they're saying, there's no way I can do this.
Right.
There's no way I can go away for 90 days. Yep. How did you do it?
You hear it all the time. It's I had a 1-year-old baby.
Yeah.
Sawyer was 1 year old.
I remember.
And the way I did it was boundaries. That angel of a man of mine looked at me without screaming and yelling, without like making it a big huggable. He would just be like, you don't get me, and you don't get our kid, and you don't get our home. You need to go. You need to go get help. And he put me in so many different places. And once again, over and over and over again, he just like kept the last time I was drunk, he handed me my phone. He's like, I pulled up 10 recovery centers. You need to pick one and you need to go.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And he was enough. The idea of losing him and my baby was like enough to get me to go. But here's the crazy part is it wasn't enough to keep me sober. It wasn't enough to like, so the boundary got me there. And then I did the work to keep it eventually. And the money, I always said like, I need to contribute financially to our family and da-da-da-da-da. In my head, I was like, there's no way the numbers don't work out without my income and da-da-da. And another woman was like, it always will work out. It always will work out. Just trust and have faith and it will always work out. And guess what? I'm the living embodiment of it working out.
So what does working out mean? I mean, like, so you've been sober for how many years?
This May will be 10.
10 years, right? You've been sober. And what's happened in 10 years for you?
Oh my God.
So for people who are listening who want to, the person that's listening wants to see the other side, you know, because they can't even see through, you know, a month or, you know, whatever the case is, but you're 10 years in. What was that like for you?
It was this idea that I got to start living for me.
Okay.
I would always look at like, okay, how can I contribute to my family? How can I make the most money? How can I, you know, how can I be a big girl? How can I be grown up? How can I make people proud? It was always external. It was always like material, external. I wasn't even a player in my mother freaking game, you know, which is so jacked. And how we even get to that mindset is just completely crazy to me. So I started looking at like what I wanted. You know, all these like personal development things are like salesy, business coaching things that you go to is like, what do you want? And one of the simplest things that I wanted was I never wanted to wear mortgagee clothes anymore. Like I wanted to wear comfortable clothes. So, and another thing that really, really helped me in recovery was yoga and meditation. And I fought meditation because I didn't want it to work and I didn't understand how it would work. Like how is stopping and being still making you more productive? I didn't get it. But every single freaking Thursday when I had meditation class, I came out more spacious, like lighter. I could like think more clearly. And I'm like, oh, fuck. It's that. I have to slow down to be better. So I stopped fighting it. But then, so yoga became my next, I was encouraged to go get my yoga teacher training certification. That was a huge part because between 6 and 9 months, that's when I did it. And I swear it saved me from a relapse because I went and hung out with my yogis. And after this one incident, and it really, I believe that it really saved me. Okay, so then I started a yoga business. I would teach yoga to anybody that would let me teach them yoga. I had a little place in my house where I would do private yoga sessions for like $25. And it grew, got into recovery centers doing the same thing. It started to become more lucrative. And
everybody knows you. Like I've run into people and they all know you. Oh, so you have a name in the community, in this community as well. Like you're very well known.
Yeah. I think, and just this is pivoting real fast back to your social media. Like you went on social media. That was huge for me too.
Yeah, I remember
I had to call myself out to hold myself accountable. Like that was very important for me too. So when I put it out on social media, I was like, oh, I can't back out now, and started to develop that community and all of that good stuff. So fast forward where I'm teaching tons of yoga and staying connected with like-minded people, working in those recovery centers. Okay, so happy. COVID hits, all the things I had a yoga studio that I closed because I realized I don't like to teach movement all that much, and different divine interventions just kept happening, and I kept surrendering.
And you're evolving this entire time. Exactly. Like everything is evolving.
Learning about myself. I look back at myself at year 1 and I was like, oh my God, you're such a little puppy. Like I was such a little sober puppy, and a year is where everybody strives to get. They're like, I've made it. I've got a year. And I look back and I'm like, oh,
that first year is probably being sober. Your first year, it's a milestone, but it's almost like you haven't fully detoxed or like gotten it all out of your system, the anxieties like are still there big time. You know, like my biggest anxiety was going to have dinner. And the moment that I walk into a restaurant to the moment the food is served, I was drinking that entire time because like I think I just get overstimulated by the noise and everything that's going on. So like I can't even focus in that. But now I don't have that problem. Like that first year was awful. Like I didn't want to go to dinner. Yeah. It was just an awful experience for me. But now I don't even think about it. Yeah. So, you know, I think it eventually wears off. So you get back your normality. I'm sorry to ask you this question, pivot real quick. When did you start drinking? Like initially, like where did alcohol get introduced to you?
13, 14, 15.
Same. Young. Yeah. So, and then you just partied almost every weekend after that?
I was sports. I had sports and they saved me. I think that's why I'm so obsessed with them now. And I get like this feeling that goes through my body when I watch sports and I'm obsessed with them. I was part of a really, really close basketball team and a soccer team, and I ran cross country, and sports kept me out of trouble. So in high school, towards the end, I partied quite a bit, but it wasn't until college that I didn't have like my sports and I was free. Yeah. That I just went bananas. Yeah. Like bananas. And then it just escalated. And then I found drugs, and then I found all of the other things, and it just kept going. But I knew I loved it. Yeah. I knew my first time getting drunk, I was like, oh yeah, this is for me. This is for me.
Did it become, in a way, for me, it was like a companion. Was it a companion for you?
Oh, heck yeah.
And so how, you know, just like you have your voice, that's your intuition and your ego, what was the alcohol for you? Like, what was that? What voice was that? Did it fall within one of those, or was it just a completely different voice for you?
It was connection. So I asked myself, I was always drawn to like really divey bars. Okay. And so when I got sober, I still wanted to go to divey bars, but that isn't a safe place for me to go to. So I have inner dialogue has been so big for me. Like,
well, real quickly, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, does that going into a divey bar trigger you? Is that why it's not a safe place, or because that's been instilled in your recovery teachings?
Early in recovery, it wasn't a safe place. Yeah. My slope is too slippery. I can't be trusted. Okay. And I knew that. And I had looked at it as like, my sobriety is a tiny baby bird, and I will protect it with everything that I have. And so going into less than conducive places just to say that I can. So I asked myself, I'm like, Grad, what is it about these skeezy places? Because that's where I would drink before. I'm like, what is it about them that you love so much? And it was laughter, and it was connection, and everybody was authentic, and as authentic as you can be in those spaces, but everybody got to be free in there. And I got to thinking, I'm like, okay, cool, nailed that. I can go and find those things outside of those bars. And the connection that I found was uncomfortable at first, because it was just like two people hanging out, like no social lubricant or anything like that. And so I had to get comfortable with that uneasy feeling initially, and then put myself in my bubble, remind myself that I'm a fun human and I am a catch and I have things to offer people. And then it got easier to connect. It wasn't like this person's just connecting with me because they pity me, or because it's just convenient, or like I always had this narrative running through my brain on like, and still sometimes do, that says like, this person is connecting with me because they're bored, or because they feel bad for me, or like, why are you being nice to me? Like that kind of mentality. So it was pouring back into myself and developing that self-love that helped ease that. But I just loved fun, and I loved laughter.
When you were coming in today, were you wondering why I was doing this with you? Does that go into your head?
No.
Okay, good.
No. Okay, because for one, I know you. Yeah. And I know your heart. And I have the luxury of like feeling very deeply. This is why I drank the way that I did. And it goes back to you going out to eat and being overstimulated. Like we feel deeper, stronger, more intensely, and like more fiery than the average bear. So we get overstimulated very fast with all that energy coming at us. And I can feel people and I feel the goodness in people. And so I'm just like a very relaxed human around you. And I also know that like I got good shit to say. You know, like there's
That's good. Yeah, that's your level up. That's where you're like, I actually know how to deliver. Yeah. And that's good. So you've been drinking since 13, 14, right? You know, you hit it hard in your late teens, 20s. So coping, you know, 10 years with no alcohol, you know, I would drink when I was happy. I would drink when I was sad. I would be like, had a great podcast today. I owe it to myself to go have a drink, right? So how did you get around that? And what do you switch that out with? Because they also say like, it's not the bad times you have to worry about. It's the celebrating when you know, so how do you manage through that?
You'll never see me without my water bottle.
Okay.
Like it's kind of my security blanket. Early on, I always had essential oils. Like I would always, and if I started to spin, I feel it very intensely, like agitated energy in my body or like unsettled energy. So I would like run straight to an essential oil and I would like smell it. That helped. I had my water. I had my mantras in my head. Like I tell myself all the time, you're okay, Gret, you're okay, you're okay. But now I have grounding. I have my inner dialogue, I'm telling you, has been like my game changer. I just talk to myself in my head.
Has that voice in your head shifted? Like from, you know, there's a voice in your head that's kind of like, for the longest time, I felt like even though I was an adult, I would hear the 16-year-old voice in my head. And then eventually it just stopped and it became my own voice. It just like mirrored each other. But like, how does it work for you? And how do you have a dialogue with yourself?
Crazy enough, I'm just like thinking about it real time. My inner voice has not changed since I got sober and did inner child work. You ever done inner child work?
Never.
Oh my God, it's like game changing. You want to like heal the root, you do inner child work. But it started as me as an adult just talking to little G, like to little me. And when we get rocked as adults, it's not our adult self that's getting rocked, it's our little self that's getting rocked. So you soothe that version of you. You tell that version of you what he or she needed to hear, right? So now, almost 10 years sober, inner dialogue, talking, like it's more of like I'm talking to my best friend. Sometimes it shifts to a point where I need to like whisper and get like really, really gentle and like tender and like have like a very serious conversation with myself. And other times it's like, Gret, let's roll. Come on. Like, what are you doing? So I guess in that way it kind of shifts a teensy bit, but for the most part, it is me talking to me, self behind the self type interaction. And before sobriety, there was like I said, I wasn't even a player in my game. Like,
well, you were, but you were like a toxic friend.
Yeah.
Like you're telling yourself, like, in order for me at least, I was like, I can't stop drinking because, right? And then I'd finish that sentence with a million things like, it's a part of your brand. It's how people know you. You know, you bring the fun. How are you going to be able to bring the fun without the party, without the alcohol?
Right.
How are you going to sit down and have a drink with somebody that you're trying to bring over to your company? Like all these things, right? Like, you know, one time, even with Tracy and I, like one of our biggest things that we love doing was going to wineries, you know? And so then that was out, you know? But was it really? Like, I don't know. Like for me, it was really learning how to get through all those things I was telling myself and then realizing the amount of brain space it took away from me that I can now reapply somewhere else was amazing. Like I used to think on Fridays, what am I drinking? Like, is it going to be whiskey on ice?
Totally.
Is it going to be the red wine? Is it going to be this? And then now I don't have to think about that anymore. I used to plan my vacations around my hangovers. Like, well, okay, I can't plan anything in the morning because I'll probably be hungover.
Right.
And I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that activity in the morning because that's going to suck, right? Don't want to wake up. So now I'm like, I forget. I'm like, oh, wait, I can do that. You know, so it's very freeing. It's very, very freeing. But at the same time, the listener is like, there's no way I can do that. And what do you say to that person? Like, how do people come to you for advice on this?
Oh yeah, they do. They come to me. I do coaching on this stuff.
Okay.
And my answer, the easiest answer, the simplest, there's a lot of stuff that goes in between this, is self-love. You don't give a rip enough about yourself. It's on my shirt. I don't give a rip. But you have to give a rip enough about yourself to make that change. My sponsor, she told me, alcohol is a non-option. And I'm like, yes, it is, because there's alcohol everywhere. You have money, you can always go buy it. It's always an option. She's like, no, up here. It's a non-option. And so I prayed my guts out to make it a non-option. Like, I used something bigger than myself to make it a non-option. And then I felt it in my physical body. So we can tell ourselves stuff all day, every day in our brain. But if our body's like this, you're fighting a losing battle. It's not going to work. We have to surrender. So when I teach and I coach, you have to surrender physical body first. You have to set this like surrendered stage in physical body and then tell yourself, because your brain follows physical body. If your physical body is saying, I'm safe, by relaxing, by letting go, your brain's like, oh, cool. Okay, this is a safe thing that I can do. I can go to this function without drinking. I can imagine my life just for today, too, the cheesy, like, just one day at a time.
Just get through today.
Yeah. And then you build days. And you do the same. I have done the same exact framework every single day for almost 10 years. I wake up in the morning. I put my hands on my heart. I ask myself how I'm feeling. If I'm stressed, if I have anxiety, I figure out, where's it coming from? Is there any merit to it? Is it just something that's lingering? Is it somebody else's energy? Once again, overstemmed, we're absorbing other people's energy. It's not ours. We don't have to carry it anymore. We get to release it. We get to let go of it. And at that point in time, after I've released the anxieties, I've reassured myself, you're okay. We're going to have a great day. All good. I ask myself, how do I want to feel? Where do I want to take this day? Do I want to feel purposeful? Do I want to feel supported? Do I want to feel at ease? Whatever it may be. And I pause again. I take 3 breaths. I relax my body. And then I go on with my day. Throughout the day, I check in. How's my body? Are my shoulders up like this? Am I girding my teeth? If so, I allow my shoulders to drop. Check and let my jaw drop. I talk to people. If I'm anxious, I'll go to Steve. I'm like, I am anxious as a mother trucker today. I don't know why, but that takes the power away from it, getting it out of your body. I think of like holding feelings in and just like grinning and bearing it and like just trying to figure it out and time will let it pass. Like, you're holding fungus in your body. You're holding...
That's a toxic. Yeah, that's a toxic piece that you got to break. I mean,
Exactly.
I will tell you this. What I do know for certain is that internalizing is just, it's like swallowing poison. And so if you can get it out, I promise one of the, if you take anything away, if you're holding on to something and you get it out in the open, one, you're manifesting the fact that it'll get addressed and you're no longer, by yourself in that journey. But number 2, I know every time I do, I feel better about it. And so I think, to your point, asking yourself what's bothering you allows you to start investigating what is it that's at the root cause of you feeling this way. And so I think it's very powerful. So pivoting back to you've been sober for 10 years. And I think what people think of is like, it's the end of something. And it's the end of a party. And nobody likes the end of a party, right? So for you, it was the beginning of something really, incredible for you, and getting your voice. Like what I watched with you, if I had, you became a teacher, you became a mentor, you became a coach, you became a business owner, you became a podcaster, a spiritual gangster, if you will. You used to wear that shirt all the time.
Yeah.
But you became this person that was like, I think the closest you were prior to that was you walked around with a yoga mat. I remember that. Like at work, you'd have your yoga mat. But for me, when I look at what you've built, it's been pretty remarkable. Like you have this entire life now that you didn't have before. Yeah. So how do you convince people like that it is okay because there is life around, and what was your framework around that?
First of all, we're never going to convince. The harder that we do, and it's counterintuitive because in the sales world, like you can convince people. In this world, they're not doing anything that they are not ready and willing to do. I can share my experience. I can show a before and after. I can reassure them. I can, like just share my story. But people, until they hit I call it the pain consequence threshold.
Which is the rock bottom.
And I had 40,000 rock bottoms. Like
you just kept getting deeper.
I just
and deeper,
kept
just
going,
thought,
or hitting the same one and being like bonk, bonk, bonk. And people are like, Gretchen, you're out of your mind. And I'm like, I realize that, and I'm trying my darndest not to be a crazy person, but I don't know how to do it. So, but it wasn't until the same thing happened 3 months in a row, 3 relapses in a row, same time frame, same behaviors, that I'm like, oh, okay, light bulb turned on. And then I was able to go and do that work. But you can lead a horse to water, but they have to want to drink.
I agree with that.
And I think a lot of the time people will, like the comparison is going to kill people. And I stopped sharing my full story to a lot of different people because they would see how crazy my story got, and they'd be like, "Oh, phew, I'm not
there."
Yes.
So you're like they think they have some space.
Yes.
That's a good point.
Yes.
It's a really good point.
And we just talked about this on our pod too. And I'm like, but you're coming to me for a reason. Like, we cannot compare. My recovery was inhibited for a little bit because I'm like, I don't deserve to be here. Like, I didn't have crazy traumas, like the stereotypical traumas that you see in this world. Like, I had trauma for sure that was enlightened, but I didn't I was like, I don't have an excuse to be this fucked up. I had 2 parents that loved me. There would, like, all of the things. But I finally honored my story. I finally looked at it like, oh, wow, these things were jacked up, and they aren't normal things to happen to a little girl. And these aren't, it shouldn't have ever been my job to be a peacekeeper at 5 years old. That's not something that a little one should do. But just circling back to the question is just that you have to hit your pain consequence threshold.
It's a good point. Yeah.
And until then, nothing changes.
I think about how that rock bottom story, you were talking about the rock bottom story and about how you don't want to tell people because they start to compare it. And I remember a guy telling me that at the time that I met him, he was working at Home Depot, and he had been an executive, and he had lost everything because of drinking. So he was starting over, and he was like, you just haven't lost everything yet. And he kept saying that yet. Yeah. And in my head, I was like, cool. I don't have to stop until I'm working at Home Depot.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, until that. So that was like, I was like, that I'm a long way from that, bro. Yep. You know, so I'm good.
Yep.
And so I do agree with you that you almost have to hold back because, you know, everybody's different. Everybody has their own story. But I do think that people, especially anybody listening this far into it, it's resonating for a reason. They're trying to learn. And so, you talked about your coping mechanisms and you talked about your rock bottom. What is it, for you, like when you look at the freedom you got when you stopped drinking, or was it freedom? Like, you know, when you stopped, what was that life like for you? Like in terms of you have to have control now, and you have to be present in a way that maybe you weren't before. Is that a lot of weight on you, or is it actually more freeing?
It was more freeing because I didn't have to be perfect anymore. Like I gave myself permission to just like be a human and not have to put myself in this like Gretchen, always smiling, always perky, always like, I gave myself permission to be a human. And granted, like it was a juxtaposition and kind of a balance between like, I was still doing like major work and I was so uncomfortable, but I could feel the difference. I could feel the shifts. I could feel the freedom. I could feel the space. I could feel the peace. I could feel like how I got to show up for Sawyer and how I got to show up for Steve and how I started to get to show up for other people. Like I remember going into different like spaces and different communities and talking and people listening. And before, people wouldn't even hear my voice. It was a real thing. I would tell Steve this all the time. I'm like, these like people would be in conversations with me and they would just walk away.
You know why that is?
Why?
Do you know why? I'm just curious if you know why that is.
Oh, you know, for one, I stopped talking to the wrong fucking people.
Okay, yeah.
That was a big one.
Yeah.
Like if you're not going to, once again, I'm a catch. Like if you're not going to give me the time of day, bye, see ya. Yeah. And also I just started to like, less is more.
Well, I think it's different from an outsider in. I think your voice carries because you believe what you're saying. Yeah. I think that you're in touch with what you're saying.
I have a stance. Yes. You know, back in the day, I was just like flip-flopping around and I didn't have like, there was no real like deep-seated passion. And today I get fearful of not being a raging alcoholic because I wouldn't have that fire.
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't have the fire. You wouldn't have the ability to sit and have an impact. I mean, in the last 10 years, I mean, have you really, you know, taken stock of all the impact that you've had and the energy transfer that you've given people, whether you're doing a yoga class or, you know, breathwork, whatever it is that you're doing? There's an impact there. And I think that that's really big for you. But you also, like, in the meantime, created a business. Yeah. How is that going?
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah?
It's so good. People come up to me all the time. They're like, how do you do all this stuff?
Yeah.
And I was like, because I don't do anything I don't love. My energy doesn't get depleted like a normal job because I'm obsessed with everything that I do. And if I'm not obsessed with it or if something starts to drain my energy, I pivot. And I walk away from it and I say, no, thank you. And you know, like being able to say no is a really big thing. There was one of my recovery centers I just let go of because I didn't have the space to do it. And it's so hard because I'm so obsessed with it and that's what I want to do. But I also am like, I'm here to listen to my intuition and for expansion. And that it was something that just wasn't working anymore. The clothing is so big because I can express myself. Even as a little girl, like people be like, Gretchen, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I wanted to be a fashion designer because it was a way that I could express myself. It was also a way that I could put a big sweatshirt on and I could feel safe. Safety was, I didn't realize how unsafe I felt my whole life. This is not boogeyman jumping out of the bushes safety. This is like content and like safe in my own skin. Like not uncomfortable being me anymore, but like a home. Like I am my home. Everywhere I go, I get me. And other pieces like just laughter. Like I'm still the same person that wants to have fun. Like I never want the fun to end. I never want the laughter to end. And now it doesn't have to because I just keep adding it. And the laughter now is so real and so deep and so good. I even remember the first time I really laughed in sobriety. I don't know why this makes me want to cry. But I remember like belly laughing with people in recovery. And I was like, oh, like it took my breath away being able to feel that on such like a real level. It wasn't like a facade. It wasn't lubricated with alcohol. Like it just was so real and so
yeah.
beautiful. And it was awesome. So being able to make money doing exactly what you love is part of my purpose on the planet, is to tell people, like, stop doing things just for the paycheck. If what you do does not fill you up and make you happy, please go do something, a side hustle. Right when I left the mortgage world, because I kept coming back to it, thinking that something was going to change. And I'm like, maybe I need to pivot into the yoga world. I went and I worked at Honey Baked Ham. And I worked in my son's school, and I did a side hustle of yoga until yoga could sustain me. And then it's just continued to do that. So, like, do your normal job, get your normal paycheck, but do something on the side that makes you really, 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 really happy. Do something creative. Our brains need creativity. My brain needs creativity. It's so multifaceted what creativity does. And my creative outlet is creating clothes. And, but it's also just like creating the life that is a dream for me.
No, that's amazing. So tell me this. So where do people find you? Where are you located? Where do they find your clothing?
So the hub is Haus of G. So www.hausofgs.com.
Haus.
Haus, yes.
Okay.
Like the fashion houses.
Yes.
And then I'm all over social media. Same thing, house.of.gs on Instagram. And that place will take you everywhere. You can find the coaching, you can find the clothing line, and you can.
So tell me about the
podcast.
coaching.
Oh, the coaching is
Yes.
so awesome. So that started. It was kind of a spin-off of all of my recovery stuff. I just sat down with myself and like, what worked for me? What got me to this point of my peace and my freedom? And I wrote a coaching program for it. It's 4 weeks. We take it through everything from like, what brings you here? Why do you want to do this stuff? What draws you to me? All of that good stuff goes through fears. We do inner child work. We do, it's work that most of my clients were like, I didn't know that we'd be going to this depth. And I'm like, well, you knew me for 2 seconds, right? Not a surface human. We're going big. But a lot of the time people need to think that it's surface. Oh, I'm just going to learn how to handle some bad habits and learn how to release some unhealthy, but the way that we keep this stuff is doing the inner work, is becoming our safe space. So we learn how to do create our own safe space. And that is what I really, that's the part that I know like fuels me even more. But the cool part about all of them is they all intertwine. They're all there for the same purpose, to create a safe space, to let you be authentic, and to not have you settle anymore. Like, be a main character in your life.
I love that. Yeah. So where do people find you on? So if they wanted to get coaching, they would get you on your Instagram?
Yes. Okay. So that one is G Mind Coaching.
Oh, G
But
Mind.
go to Haus, because Haus leads you everywhere.
Haus, super important. So Gretchen, I mean, for me, like getting back to that moment where I had to make a decision of what to do next, it was very hard because I didn't want to be the guy that was in your business, or, you weren't hurting anybody, you weren't harming anybody. I think what bothered me the most about it was that you had always shown up in a big way, and all of a sudden you were hiding. And I don't know if you know this, but I called you. I didn't want to walk out there and embarrass you or anything like that. So I sent you a note. I said, hey, can you come over? Like, no, I can't. Yeah. You were like, no, I'm good, bro. Leave me alone. And I was like, no, you need to come over. Yeah. And I can't remember if I went over there, because I think I went around the back to kind of just scope you out. You weren't at your desk. And that's when everybody was like, no, you need to talk to her. But then I went back and I was like messaging you like, hey, can you come over? But it was really hard as a younger manager to really know if it was my place or not to that. So for the person on the other side, tell me about it from your end. Did that help? Did it hurt? Were you, I
mean, it was everything. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, is like, we don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. We don't want to be wrong. Like I could call a person out and be like, oh, have you been drinking? They're like, no. And they could be lying or they could be telling the truth, and you don't want to be wrong. But the part that is so that I want to get across is like, it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk. It was worth you being uncomfortable, walking through all of those different things, and to ask me like a simple question that gave me permission to be like, no, I'm not good, which led to all of the other ultimate healing that happened. But it takes a courageous human to do that. And it takes somebody that's like, cares enough. I believe business owners have a moral obligation to have a moral obligation to take care of their people, right? Part of that moral obligation is if your spidey senses are going off, if you've got a pit in your stomach, if you see something, a shift in behavior, it is your moral obligation to ask, are you okay? Even saying something as simple as, hey, something's up, something's different. I'm here for you if I can do anything, if you need me. You prefacing, I'm worried that I'll be wrong, being vulnerable with the person. I don't want to be wrong. I don't know if this is the case. However, I care about you enough to ask the question. And
in that short term, Gretchen, sorry to interrupt, but in that short term as a leader on this side of it, you know, I ultimately lost an employee over it. And so in the short term, you're thinking, you know, I'm going to lose an employee over it. I'm going to lose production. I'm going to lose, you know, efficiencies and those sort of things. But at the end of the day, what supersedes all of that is that you have to be a good human, and you have to exercise, you know, some kindness to check in with somebody who's hiding or who is not showing up their best selves or whatever the case is, to ask if they're okay. Because through that, while I lost an employee, which I would have never thought about back then, is that it changed your life. And I mean, and I don't feel like I changed your life. I feel like you changed your life, but the catalyst was that conversation
100%.
To bring it to fruition. And I think for you, you're a testament of, you know, that thing in the back of my mind saying, hey, don't be the drag, don't be a drag. Don't be that guy. And being that person in a way could have saved your life. And so I think for people who are listening, you know, it's not just about you helping yourself, but also helping others and being a leader in that sense. And you're giving us the open invitation to say that that's okay.
Yeah. And I lived through both of it. I lived through a company that couldn't give two craps because there was production, and then a company that was like, it's worth the humanity of it. And I will pick that company all day, every day to be at. You know, it was a game changer. It was an absolute game changer for me.
Good. And I'm glad you're here. I mean, and I'm glad to see, you know, that we've been able to keep, you know, in touch, and that you've been just amazing. And I feel like a real connection with you because of it. And I'm glad to see where you landed, because you're doing amazingly well.
Can I tell you a funny story that I really remember?
Yeah.
And I second all the stuff that you just said. It's so wonderful. I remember I was back in that like corner, and I would bring snacks, and I had a banana the day that I brought a banana. It was in my drawer. And then I drank, was in treatment, and I was so paranoid about this freaking banana in my desk going bad that's all I could talk about to Steve. And I'm like, you need to call Chris, and you need to tell them that I have a banana in my so top funny. Drawer. Yeah. And it can't go wrong, because not only am I just this lunatic alcoholic that they just had to deal with, but then I'm going to have a rotting banana in my top drawer. You need to do it. And he's like, I will handle the banana, Gretchen. Yeah. You just do treatment.
Well, I need you to tell Steve he never called me about the banana.
Stop!
It's probably rotting as we said. No, I don't know. I don't know about the banana. And it is weird, because I'll remember the most random of things. Like I remember you having the yoga mat, but I won't remember things like that. Like it's just a weird thing, but it probably did happen. I do remember calling him a few times in the process to check in on you. Yeah. But I just don't recall that. So maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But
one can hope.
One can hope, yes. But I think, I mean, I'm sure it figured itself out because I never heard about a rotting banana. So good. So,
Not
but
our
it is
problem
funny how
anymore.
we'll obsess about
Obsessed.
the most random of things.
The dumbest things.
Yeah. All right. You want to do some breathe work?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable doing this?
Absolutely.
Is this a thing you do?
100%.
Okay.
Do we want to do more relaxation breath work, correct?
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, just like if I'm feeling, so this particular podcast would be like a short, really short clip, but it would be around for somebody who has never really meditated or never really done it, but
awesome.
wants some instruction on how to just get some calmness in the middle of the day.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Yeah,
So first off, thank you for doing this episode.
Thank you.
By the way, guys, if you got this far, you owe it to yourself to just take a snapshot of this and post it in Instagram and tag us, because we'd love to know that you got this far and that you appreciated this one so we can give you more content just like this. So the next episode I want you to listen to, because we're going to actually, and I want you to save it, because we're going to do another episode on just breathe work. Because, I mean, she's done an amazing job with this, and I've always wanted to sit down with you and do something like this, because there are times in my day that I get so anxious that I want just a playbook for that moment to just kind of, just take a moment.
Yeah.
And on the next episode, Gretchen's going to show us how to do that. Are you cool with that?
Absolutely.
All right.